are watching India Today.
These feet are chasing a football today and heading towards a definitive goal. But just some time back, they were being chased for committing crimes. These are children in conflict with law. It is a hot summer afternoon. We are at a juvenile home. As we make our way inside, we see sketches by former inmates, pasted proudly on the walls. Whether they were sketched with pride in mind or not is difficult to fathom though. We wait for the children to get ready for playtime. That's the only time we can meet them. They come out onto the field. As they see me standing on the way, they say their perhaps customary Namaste Didi. Some loud, but most subdued. There are about 46 children in this home at present, out of which 20 have committed heinous crimes. But the officials here who interact with these children on a daily basis believe that most of them show a genuine desire to forget their past and change for the better. And sports is helping them in this rather challenging journey.
मैंने यहाँ देखा है, यहाँ लोग रिपीटेडली आते थे शुरू में। लाइक ये प्रोग्राम हमारा 2 साल तो हो गए हैं इसको। ये एक सही दिशा प्रोग्राम हम लोग चला रहे हैं। तो अब हम देख रहे हैं लाइक जो रिपीटेड आते थे बाहर, हम यहाँ ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद वो बाहर ट्रेनिंग करने जा रहे हैं, हमारे साथ कर रहे हैं ट्रेनिंग। सो हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि वो यू कैन से सुधर रहे हैं।
But while much looks congenial on the surface, all is not what it seems. On the sidelines, while my cameraman shoots, some boys pass him by and flaunt their crimes to him. Murder, attempted murder, rape. We went to what many would describe as a fairly decent juvenile home. There are 815 remand homes across the country, most in shambles. Lack of funds and insensitivity towards inmates make matters worse. Behind the high walls, there are sordid tales of deprivation, misbehavior, and sometimes even abuse. We spoke to some former inmates. One of them, now 21, accused of murder in 2010 when he was in the 10th standard. He spent 4 months in a juvenile home before he got bail. And this is what he tells us about what goes on inside.
जिंदगी में मैडम ये बताएं कि वहाँ पे मैडम सही है नहीं, सुविधा पूरी सही है नहीं, और सुबह ना तो कोई खाना ना वो गाली गलौज है, और कोई शरीफ बंदा वहाँ आए, जैसे कोई पहली बार ये अंदर आए तो वो मैडम अंदर मिलते हैं, वो सब गिरो है, वो जो स्टोरी वाले मिलते हैं, और जहाँ वो अब जो ऑफिसर है अंदर मारपीट होती है, कुछ बोलते नहीं है, ठीक है हो गई उस सारे मारने पे लिखा देते हैं, सीजिम साहब को बोलेंगे तो कुछ नहीं होता, सुनाई कुछ नहीं होती मैडम। वहाँ ना अंदर कोई लाइब्रेरी, अंदर कोई पढ़ाई किताब है, ना कोई अच्छी कुछ संस्कार देने वाला है, ना कोई बात, गाली के अलावा बात भी नहीं होती मैडम अंदर, तो सीधी सुबह गाली बोलते हैं।
The government has consistently been reducing funding for child welfare programs. This year, 400 crores have been allocated for the Integrated Child Protection Scheme, which is 11% less than the revised estimate for last year. Budgetary allocation for the development of children has been drastically reduced. It has been slashed by 55% in allocation to the states. With little resources and harsher punitive measures being contemplated, many believe the move would only further hamper the integration of juveniles into the society once they step out of correctional homes.
If you're just dumping people together because you don't want them around you, and you're going to you are kind of not only keen on punishing them, but would like to see them much more than just put away, but you'd like to see them suffer. If that is your philosophy, what does it matter?
Sometimes many believe juveniles leave the homes more hardened.
मेरे साथ ही मैडम दिनेश नाम पे लड़का था, उसके मेरे साथ ही पकड़ा गया था 2 साल के बाद। हम दोनों पकड़े गए थे, ठीक है। वो नाबालिग था, मैं भी नाबालिग था। उसके और मेरे साथ में पढ़ाई थी मैडम, 11th क्लास हमने साथ में की थी, ठीक है, थ्योरी से। वो पढ़ाई होशियार था, वो साइंस मैथ्स से था मैडम, मैं आर्ट्स सब्जेक्ट से था। वो मैडम सुधरने के लायक था, लेकिन मैडम आज वो मतलब चित्तौड़गढ़ जेल में बंद है मैडम, रोडों तस्करी के अंदर। हाँ मैडम, ऐसा गिरोह मिला उसको मैडम, अंदर से जो सेंट्रल जेल से कुछ बंदे आ रखे थे, ठीक है। वो सेंट्रल जेल से पहले नाबालिग थे, उसके चक्कर में क्या सेंट्रल जेल से उनको यहाँ शिफ्ट कर दिया, यहाँ केस बाकी थे उनके। उस गिरोह से मैडम वो मिल गए। उस गिरोह से मिलने के बाद मैडम जैसे जमानत हुई उसकी, वो गिरोह की जमानत हुई, उस गिरोह से मैडम संपर्क करके वो उसके साथ काम करने लग गया।
And this is exactly the fear of those who oppose the government's move to reduce the age of juveniles from 18 to 16 in cases of heinous crimes. They believe that the possibility of molding the juveniles into better people will reduce even further if they go to adult jails, and their integration into the society later on will get even more difficult. NGOs say there is no clarity in the Juvenile Justice Bill 2014 on whether under trials would also be housed in adult jails. They also say there is no clarity on whether provisions would be made to segregate them from other adult criminals. This is necessary on 2 counts: to prevent them from getting further hardened and also to safeguard them from exploitation.
We are imagining some high level of resilience of a young person who is inside or inside jail, or who is in custody, vis-a-vis any young person outside with that experience. Prison rape is perhaps more debilitating insofar as you do not have access to the instruments of the law. If one would be abused outside, one would still have, you can run to a police station, or you go and speak to a relative or a family member who can take action. What would you do there?
The concept of brothel schools to house young offenders in adult prisons is fairly alien in India. There are only 21 brothel schools in India, that too in only 10 states. According to the Prison Statistics of India, in 2013, the occupancy rate of prisons was 118.4%, leading to an overcrowding of 18%. Lack of inspection and monitoring of prisons is commonplace. Under trial review committees headed by a senior judicial officer to periodically review long and unnecessary detentions have not yet been constituted in all states. The number of suicides also remains fairly prevalent. There were 70 cases of suicides in 2013 alone. All this makes the 16 to 18 age bracket the most vulnerable in adult prisons.
The idea is not to excuse the child. The idea is to give him a kind of treatment so that the child gets better in future life. Unless you decide to kill him, unless you decide to hang him, if you don't decide to hang him, if you don't decide to put him in lockup or jail all his life, in that case you try to create a situation where a child improves, comes out better, a productive citizen, isn't it? The entire system is not meant to create people who become useless, who became destructive, who became negative, and who really destroy the society. You are trying to do because you want to reform a person, you want to make him better. So from that point of view, a differential treatment of the juvenile, even if the child commits a serious crime, is the proper thing to do.
In fact, even the UN Convention on Child Rights and Beijing rules that India is signatory to suggest the same. Those under 18 should be treated differently from adults. The 32-member Parliamentary Standing Committee headed by J.P. Nadda also cautioned against any change in age. It said some incidents of juvenile crime, though a serious cause of concern, should not be the basis for introducing drastic changes in the existing juvenile justice system. So despite the opposition, what is it that has compelled the government to still go ahead with the change? After a short break, the day that changed the perception and the discourse on juveniles in conflict with law.
You are watching India Today.
A massive outpouring, uniting a country in shock and grief, a week after the brutal gang rape of Nirbhaya in 2012. Confusion, chaos and anger gripped the national capital. Angry protesters demanding answers from the system. Hang the criminals, don't let off the juvenile lightly, were the cries. I stand at the same spot today. There are no overt protests, but there still remains palpable anger. People seem to believe there's been no seeming justice. The case drags on and the juvenile will be set free this year after serving a 36-month-long sentence in a remand home. But what many don't seem to realize is that the government's move to reduce the age of juveniles from 18 to 16 in cases of heinous crimes is a direct fallout of the December 16 gruesome gang rape. Post-December 16, chilling details of the crime tumbled out. The juvenile, 3 months short of 18, appeared most sinister. Reports of his action numbed the senses.
I would think that rape and murder cannot be committed by a person who doesn't know what he's doing. Juvenile concept is that you do not understand the implications of what you're doing. So if you're robbing a cycle or robbing a bakery, yes, you may think like a child, and so we make it as 18. You don't want them to be mingling with criminals. But rape, and that too the kind of rape that was done to and poor Nirbhaya, you have to be a monster. You can't let these monsters free on this thing.
But some insist the juvenile's role in the crime was grossly over-exaggerated, creating an adverse public opinion, forcing the government to act arbitrarily.
Let me clarify at the very beginning that the juvenile or the child who was allegedly involved in that case did not have any serious role to play. He was not the brutal one as described by the media. He was not the one who played the very important role. He was there. Yes, he was there. See, there are two reasons why his role could not be explained. Number one, that juvenile justice process itself doesn't allow any kind of media participation. I mean, the evidence being collected or the proceedings being carried out is not given out. The second point was that other co-accused persons who were far more clever and matured, they decided to kind of make an allegation about him.
This was the spot where Nirbhaya was left to die after being brutalized. I met a handful of people who had come across the juvenile during the course of the investigation. Some told me he was a shrewd, bold boy. Some others told me he was a quiet person of not a great build, thereby sketching a picture of a boy who could not have been so brutal. We then decided to get a clearer picture. That's when we decided to go to Nirbhaya's mother. Her modest accommodation is filled with accolades bestowed on her brave daughter. But it is not hard to see Asha Singh still coming to terms with the tragedy. She holds her tears back as she speaks to us, looking vulnerable at times and harsh and angry at others.
अगर 6 हैं और 6 क्राइम किए हो तो 6 का पूरा ही हाथ है उसमें और 6 वो ही सजा के हकदार हैं, क्योंकि हमारी बच्ची ने बयान में भी कह दिया था कि वो बारी बारी ड्राइविंग किए हैं, बारी बारी सबने बरसात को अंजाम दिया है, तो इसमें सजा सबकी उतना ही बनती है जितना जुगनाइल है, जितना सबकी सजा एक तरह की बनती है.
When we inform her that the law is about to change, she expresses satisfaction. But she knows the law will not be retrospective, and she says she will resent it all her life that the juvenile will walk free later this year.
बिल्कुल मलाल है, बिल्कुल मलाल है और जब तक जिएंगे तब तक रहेगा. हम तो सरकार से यही उम्मीद करते हैं, चाहे मीडिया के माध्यम से उन तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं कि अगर ये कानून पास हो जाता है, चाहे सरकार को पास करना चाहिए, तो उसको भी जो भी कानून बने, जो भी सजा बने, उसको भी इस कानून के तहत लिया जाना चाहिए, उसको भी सजा मिलनी चाहिए.
But many believe a knee-jerk reaction will not help the cause. It's a malaise that needs reform, not retribution.
This provision is simply ill-conceived. It's clearly a reaction to the tragedy of Nirbhaya, which I personally feel very strongly. I went and met the parents twice. I really feel it's an awful thing. In those countries where they have tried this, in America, for example, there are 50 states. Each one has its own laws. So some 13 states, they do this to children. There have been studies in those states that have demonstrated that 80% of the children who are treated as adults and tried and jailed go back and commit more crimes. Because you put a child in jail with adult prisoners, often for as much as 20 years, you're going to produce hardened criminals as a result.
This particular boy must die.
But Subramaniam Swamy refutes this argument.
The issue is, if you commit rape and murder, can you say you don't know what you're doing? Therefore, somebody else has been deprived of their rights. And this person knew what he was doing. And certainly I would say that 16 as a cutoff is a fair amount, a fair age to cut off, because that would mean that yes, a 16-year-old can rape.
In the United States, Indiana, South Dakota, Vermont, children as young as 10 can be tried as adults. California allows automatic trial of juveniles as adults who commit felonies. In Michigan too, juveniles are allowed to be treated as adults. In the United Kingdom, for persons under 18 who commit serious crimes, the youth court can transfer the case to the Crown Court and order indeterminate detention for public protection. Women and Child Development Minister Menaka Gandhi has taken a cue from all these examples and pushed through the Lok Sabha the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Bill 2014. Now this bill states that the Juvenile Justice Board will decide within a month's time whether a heinous crime committed by a juvenile should be tried under the Indian Penal Code or not.
The procedures for treatment of children who commit heinous crimes in the age group of 16 to 18 years are well laid down in the bill, and there is no arbitrariness in the bill with regard to procedures. So there is no violation of Article 21 of the Constitution, which provides for right to life and personal liberty. All children in the age group of 16 to 18 years are treated equally.
The minister further backs her arguments through National Crime Bureau statistics.
Are proposed to be treated differently under the bill.
It shows that there has been a drastic increase in crimes by juveniles against women in the last decade. Some say statistics alone cannot be a fair yardstick.
Even the law as written, for example, by criminalizing certain actions. Imagine if you are an 18-year-old boy having consensual sex with a 16-year-old girl, and the 16-year-old girl therefore is a minor. You are also a minor, but now you can be tried if for whatever reason she or her family alleges it was a rape. You can suddenly go to jail for 20 years. I mean, some of this is inhumane as well as impractical.
My reaction was exactly the same as the law.
The issue seems more complicated because even medically, the argument of age and criminal responsibility cannot be clearly answered.
Based on the science, I would say that 18 to 16 from a neuroscience perspective makes very little difference. If you ask me, if you're looking purely from the scientific evidence, these crucial parts of the circuits may help or prevent these horrible crimes has not fully matured in an average brain into the late teens, into the early 20s. From a societal point of view, from a legal point of view, I do agree that these crimes, when you're taking somebody else's life, is an adult crime.
With a brute majority in the Lok Sabha, the government has been able to pass the contentious bill. But the real challenge will be in its passage in the upper house, the Rajya Sabha. The question is, will the state, apart from taking stricter punitive action against young offenders, also take more responsibility towards the children in conflict with law who largely belong to the fringes of the society?